Oh, at least there isn't. Here we go.
Right, 7:08, November 21st, and fall before Parks and Rec Committee meeting.
Right. Sarah Borkart.
Here.
Derek Look.
Here.
Jennifer Bonte.
Here.
Jed Henry.
Here.
And Trustee Broughton.
Here. No one else is online.
Correct.
This is a portion of the public comment. Do you guys have any public comments you want? All right, so we'll move on to the reports. I don't have any real in-depth reports. I just noticed that there's a lot of work going on at Fair Park. Sure Michael fill us in on that, as well as the. Actually, yeah. I apologize. So that's what I got.
You did.
I'll bring it up later when it comes back. And then, do the members have anything?
Sure.
All right.
I really like the online dog license registration option. I was Johnny on the spot with that one, got my dog all registered, you know, the chance to come in for another month. I really like that. I also was going to ask that I apologize for not picking up on all that work that's being done in Glacier's Edge. Is that part across from ACE? That is being, what's going on there?
I can give you an update during my report if that's all right.
All right,
I'll try and add that to it here. It's not really me, but I'll get you what I know at least.
Yep, and I guess that's it. That's all I was going to say.
So I talked a little bit to Katie Riff. She is interested in organizing a 5K run. And so then I thought it would be a great collaboration with Parks and Rec to do like couch potato 5K program, which I would be happy to help.
Katie ran that for us. We used to run one.
Yeah.
She ran it for us.
Yeah. So I had, so anyway, I'm
Great.
hoping that happens. So that was that. And then I was talking about, I would like to try to come up with some activities that are to get girls more involved in running activities. And of course, boys would be interested as well. But I was talking about some of the sports options that are being offered. We're just not getting enough interest from girls. So like basketball and softball in the older.
You got nothing, right? Rec coordinator isn't here, so.
All right. My report. A few things. If I was onto it, I guess. Small Diamond renovation is almost complete. They've done a wonderful job. It looks amazing. I don't know if anyone's been able to go and look inside the dugouts, but it's like all lined with pine. Just it looks beautiful. It looks really nice. Something that you wouldn't necessarily expect maybe in that, you know, what it used to be to what it is now is just amazing. I have heard some, you know, discussions about the seating. That will be discussion. I mean, that will be something that we'll have to change up there. Come early spring, we plan to kind of redo the blacktop around the backside of the dugout, so it's kind of facing right behind home plate, so that we can bring a bleacher and just put one bleacher right in the middle right there, since we already have a bleacher that'll fit in that spot, and then get rid of the other bleacher that we have currently sitting up there that has the old turquoise kind of bench on it. Still, we will keep the frame because we do have some aluminum seats that we can put on those, and then try and put those at the large end. Kind of the plan as of right now. That's the only thing I've really heard from people is like, how are we going to see? If you go down there, you aren't able to really see around the dugouts where the current bleachers are sitting. So that is, you know, kind of something that we'll have to kind of keep an eye on a little bit more. You still will be able to see quite well from up on top in the grass areas, but meeting ADA and making sure that everyone has a chance to watch the games is important. So we'll look at if there's any other renovations or things we have to do along the fence lines to first base and third base. Seamus and I plan to meet up there a number of times to talk about other things that we could do. They did talk about updating the electrical service that's there, at least putting a new panel on and doing things there. I haven't talked to Gary, who's doing the construction work up there. It obviously would be at our cost to do that, and I asked him to give me a quote, just kind of waiting on that to see if it's something that we can still do this year, as it is something that is needed. Looks like it's the original electrical from the 70s or so, so be a good update. As far as Glacier's Edge Park, so there's a really interesting backstory within that whole property. The deed and or the setup of that park is actually that previously was that land was provided for the village for stormwater and park services, based on the need that they had to provide dedicated land for the apartments and condos that are above that development. But within that agreement, the village was not to take care of any of the maintenance, or the only maintenance that needed to be taken care of was if there was any stormwater issues. Last year, or 2 years ago now, when the hardware store was coming in, Bill and the village board kind of went with this notion that they could provide the Ace Hardware with more space for parking and or for the greenhouse. So they put that in their developers agreement, or their agreement to come here to the village, was that we would provide them that much space to do so. So Jerry, so staff has been working diligently to try and get it to meet that need. However, when they started to take off the topsoil, they noticed that there was a lot of rock and a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily want there. So what he wanted to do is reuse that rock for other things that it may be needed for. So that's been taken out. We've added fill. They're adding fill in, and then the plan is to blacktop that area, not the whole area, but a large portion of that area for Ace Hardware. Brian, our new administrator, is also working on some grants to try and update that park, the lighting, different parts throughout that we can maybe make it more of an area for people to go and want to sit to eat their Mexican restaurant, or if we ever happen to bring in another restaurant for food, just something more that they could do in there. I had some other really large ideas, but they were pretty expensive, so I won't bring those up today about things that I'd like to see that we could do. But that's kind of where that project's at within Glacier's Edge. And you should actually see hopefully an upgrade. I mean, it's always been kind of an area that they didn't take care of. So we did end up starting to try and take care of it, even though we weren't supposed to. So I believe now within the new agreement, the village is going to do the maintenance for that space, but it's all been changed in the last 8 months. And I wasn't part of that change, so I'm not exactly sure what that change is going to be. That answer your questions for the most part? Kind of, sort of. I would, if you have more questions, I'd contact Brian or Jay if they were involved in that process. As you can see, also on the large diamond, they're putting in the masonry for the block along the masonry block along the outside of where the new pavilion and bathrooms will be. They have a big piece of plastic over that and shooting heat in there, and they're going to try to work on that through the winter. They also have done that out on the new well out at Old Feather Park, so that's been completed out there. That site.
The whole Feather Park one, I know originally there was the Florida ideas of like shade areas and stuff. Is that?
Yeah, that got taken away. It'll be only a well. We wanted storage in there as well, so we could continue to continue to do archery there. So we didn't have to take everything there every time we had a program.
Yeah. And
that got taken away too. So we've moved archery now up to Bear Park. We're just kind of taking it away from that spot anyways. So we had some pickleball court vandalism, which I know we talked. I don't know if I brought that up to you last time, but that was taken care of. So that's been sealed, and the police department did a great job. Kim Reddy, our detective, did a great job finding out who did that. So the families did pay the restitution for that. Midwest Seal Coat's been there to, cover it and make sure that we didn't have any issues throughout the winter here. So that's what they got. And then go ahead.
Did they change like the pipe or the nets or whatever?
That's on the agenda for us
Okay.
to talk about tonight. Yep. And then lastly, the logo policy is going to the village board on Monday night. I put together a policy on how staff and or committees or the village board should be able to use the village logo policy. I guess that's what they've been waiting for. I didn't know that was something I was supposed to do, but you will have that on Monday night. So then we can approve the sign manual policy that was done 2 years ago, I feel like in general, but
Local policy?
a logo policy. So
Logo.
this logo
Oh,
policy.
logo.
Yeah, logo policy. Yeah. More or less how we can use that movie going forward. Yes, I have that. That's the last
Oh,
thing
okay.
in here.
Well, you said that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I probably did. Then the last thing is they contacted me last week, Thursday, about putting the playground in over at Glacier Ridge Playground. So the Glacier Ridge Playground. At this point, I asked them to hold off until spring. I said, hold on to the equipment. I'd rather us be the first ones come spring to put it in than to be the last ones to put it in here in winter and just have it sit out there and get snow on it and no one's able to use it throughout the year. I know that it's kind of a touch point for the neighborhood, but I really feel that if we're going to spend $40,000, that we don't want to spend it and have it out there for a whole winter and not use it. So if you don't agree with that and you'd like to see them put it in,
I think they would use it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Kids use.
not much. I don't see a whole lot of use. Maybe they would because it's new. They,
Yeah.
the neighbors
I
may
just
want
think
to,
it's-
but
Our kids used to sled down slides.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's kind of a sore spot right now. One has been for a very long time,
yeah,
for years. So I guess, I think people are pretty disappointed.
oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure
I
they're
mean, it's
disappointed.
just, I don't know. I think that's kind of one of those things that I keep feeling like, my neighborhood is highly involved in this community. And I just feel like we keep getting, I don't know.
Well,
It's been a rough go.
if you want to, I mean, I know it's not on the agenda tonight, but if you'd like to see that happen still, just say it and I'll make sure that they come in and do it.
Wow,
If everyone
it's
feels
fine.
like that,
I mean-
my whole thing was to not have it, if it's not going to get as much use,
Yeah, and I just felt like
like a,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. I think it's just that I'll tell you, the kids, it was like this, they were so excited because there's been all the signs of it
Yeah.
coming in. And all the kids are like, it's coming to Warrington. And now it's like, no. So it's fine. Like you said, they probably put it in.
well, they put it in still. The issues that we run into, and there are some 40-degree weather, temperatures, so it's good. But, we're like last week, it's freezing out. So you're going to try and do Saccharine cement for all the posts. And I
Yeah.
was like, no,
Yeah,
I'm not.
I know. I kind of figured.
I don't know. It was my call. They're ready. Now they're ready,
Well,
supposedly,
yeah,
right?
now,
So,
2 months ago, I think it's just everyone got the hopes up. It's, I think that's my wise.
Okay.
As long as
we're first on the
Yeah.
docket. Yeah, I'll make sure that is,
Okay.
that's a
and as soon as
necessity.
they have a date, it would be nice.
Yeah,
Although
get
again,
that to us.
don't want a date. because then
Weather,
really-
yeah. Yeah, I just want them to,
We're gonna do the cutting ceremony.
you can do whatever you guys
Yeah, I
would like
think it would be fun.
once it's ready to go. Well, kids, it's usually great to have them come and do it as well.
Yeah,
Just
they're like
kids
a
with
million
scissors,
kids
though.
over there. It would be, wow, they can at least get it.
That's everything that I have on my list here. Is there any questions?
And I forgot to mention, letters to Santa, that came up, which is really
Yep,
great.
That
very
is
popular.
happening again this year, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he brought the mailbox and everything. he brought a new mailbox and it's all decorated differently. And he's got candy canes outside of it. At Northwest Dane or at the club.
Okay.
Two comments that now I just remembered that were given to me. One was along the lines of the signs. Somebody made a comment to me once that like about a couple weeks ago that the signs kind of like where the farmers market is. Like,
Yeah.
they acted like, that was like a major eyesore. And, so just kind of pass along. I actually hadn't really considered that as like a cross plains. They like, I guess, bring it in the sense that that's our community sign. To me, the community signs are the signs either in the town, next big ones, but.
Oh, you're saying that,
To them,
on that,
that sign is kind of like a community sign, and so for them, they really, they thought it was pathetic. So I don't know if there's any plans for, before we upgrade signs to do anything like that, but. I just thought.
I think there should be. I agree with them, actually. Like, we expected that to be much larger. I know when it was all brought in here. They spent so much money on the entrance signs that they didn't want to spend any more money on that.
Oh, I imagine.
And so,
Well, didn't they didn't even finish the end.
no, they didn't.
Why, that's what they kind of do.
Yeah.
They did
Yeah.
drastic. Well, I think there are other things too. 'Cause I've heard what maybe was planned and they're like,
Oh, to me, I thought that's what the banners were.
So where the concrete is supposed to have like a peaks and valley kind of deal with like, it looks like hillsides, right? And then it was supposed to say driftless or gateway to the driftless on each sign. And that got taken out.
Oh, that was super cool.
yeah, that's what I heard is like they looked really cool and
I think they're still great.
Yeah,
Like, to
they
me,
look
like, I
nice.
haven't seen that as a banner.
Yeah, and that's what people have talked about as of late. Like, can we start putting banners on there? I thought a mural would be cool, like our actual logo on it would be cool. But nothing's ever moved on it.
we
It's
need
just,
a walk. Like if you go up north, every little town has this amazing mural of all things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then the other comment was just, if you're not gonna do this at this point, but, at Halloween, like, I'm sure they were rushed. Like, their work day was kind of like, I'm sure the crew was doing the level stuff, utility stuff was, just kind of like you're trying to get something else in Halloween's upon them, but like, luckily, like, nobody ended up in the pits, but there was like, the fences and stuff weren't up, initially, so it was like literally like there's sidewalk here, like this line, and below it was like whatever, and all that stuff, because they were in the midst of working on it, there was like several areas like that that were exposed. And so that was the other thing that should brought up in my comments was, obviously I saw it personally, but other people were like, oh my gosh, and there's not to do with that because that project is going to be in the review.
yeah, but I guess, yeah, in the future, if that ever happens, like, just send me a text right away, or especially if you're out there and be like, hey, what is this? Because I'm guessing that they must have mitigated the issue at that point. Yeah. Well, that's,
Yeah, it just like all of a sudden before all those kids are on the street.
What street?
That was on Gills.
also on the street itself.
So by the park, before they kind of, they put the block pipes.
Yeah.
So originally that was pulled back, and so that was exposed because, they were doing something to the fence, the barricade wasn't up, because they were in and out of there.
Oh, and they didn't close it up?
No, not initially.
Oh.
And then there was a couple spots down the road because they were trenching utilities to kind of pull whatever, the line, the electric or whatever they're pulling through. And so those are much smaller pits, but those are exposed as well at the time, and
So they didn't have like cones or?
eventually they fenced that stuff off. Well, at the start of trick or treating, whatever time that was.
Yeah, at that point.
That stuff was exposed for probably like 45 minutes.
Okay.
Until they, again, it was kind of like, they probably get caught in the middle of the work.
Did they have staff on site still when you were trick or
There were
treating?
people running around. trying to,
Okay.
do things.
So I believe, I'd have to look at what that agreement states. I believe as long as they have staffing still there,
Yeah.
they would have been
The one
within
by the
their
park was
scope.
worse, just because
Yeah.
it's
Just a drop off.
There's a drop, but.
Yeah, and it got dark and Okay. It's good to know. Yeah, in the future, if that happens, just text me or call me. At least got someone out there to get some cones or something.
Sometimes, if they just need to take something to early, Is Parks and Rec in charge of setting the hours for two?
No,
No, okay.
police department.
But that is not things. I was gonna say, the only community around that has 2 hours and 52 hours.
Wanakee is 5 to 7.
Was it?
I love it.
Five to eight.
5 days.
Those are really 5 to eight.
Oh, you think it's too short?
I mean, you could always keep your light on and just put, you know.
Well, I was out with kids.
Oh, I got you.
I had a lot of people.
Yeah.
I remember being out until like 9 o'clock.
Off the bus and
Everywhere.
start.
Yeah. I'm home, I got my pillowcase, I will fill this. But I did like actually, I don't know, having the taco truck and the big thing down at the library. That was kind of neat.
He said he wished there were a lot more people that would have been there to have it. I think maybe that's like a marketing thing for us or the library.
Well,
Yeah, I didn't know about it.
I feel like it was with the weather though, there were tons of people out because it's like the first time in like 8 years where like, all you needed was a sweatshirt.
We went down, like, I remember maybe it's the kids that aged out, but like, it was significantly less. There was one I remember it was.
It does remind me of an event though. So the chamber's doing that lighting of the Christmas tree on December 3rd. So hopefully it goes a lot better than it did last year. No, you guys approved it, but he couldn't get any of the equipment in time. Yeah, which I knew was probably an issue, but Dave is gonna go up there and take a look at it with me this week.
My house is really well.
And Main Street lights, you know?
Yeah, so we have the lift next week, Monday. We'll have a lift here.
They need to just like fence off the area so children are not.
Agree. We also just would love to have parents like make sure they keep their kids off of
That's not
the,
bad.
off of the wires. But yeah, that is on December 3rd. It's coming up. I don't know if you've heard. I didn't see anything yet out, but
Yeah,
she's-
I've seen it.
oh, it was out. Okay, good.
I think they're.
I don't go on. I don't go on Facebook, so
Oh, I think I already like replied to that. So
perfect. There you go. All right.
So, discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of October 17th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I will second the motion.
Update and discussion from the pool feasibility.
Do all in favor. Sorry,
I'm
you're
sorry.
good. You're good.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for catching me on that. Update and discussion from pool feasibility subject.
So tonight's meeting, just kind of want to give everyone an update each week we can. Tonight's meeting kind of talked about more or less coming together with a community visioning session. We're going to have that on. Yeah, no, is it? Hold on.
And the fire station is available.
Yes, January 12th. Thanks, Jen. I was thinking it was the 16th for some reason, but January 12th, at 7 p.m. at the fire station, correct?
Yeah.
Trying to get like a first draft from everybody about what they'd really like to see, and then kind of moving from there on to, okay, so if this is what we'd like to see, you know, that may not be able to be held on our current site that we're on, based on the square footage needs for such, along with all the other pros and cons that we talked about at the previous meeting, of the current site and kind of moving to that new site that's located off of there. We'll have some different visioning boards for people to look at, some different communities, what their amenities are, and see if that's something that people would really like to get behind here, or if we're just kind of going with a neighborhood type pool like what we have now, kind of moving forward. And our next meeting is December 12th for the pool feasibility meeting, based on the 19th not working for the group. Didn't work for me. Which does bring up our Parks and Recreation meeting on the 19th. That will not work for me. I'm actually driving down to Florida. So yeah, so I won't be here. I mean, I guess I could. probably could, but
How
Sure,
do
I don't
you
want
have
to.
to do that formal? Change that or-
no, it doesn't need to be formal. I can just make sure when I post the agenda. Either we could take the month of December off, which would probably be fine, and I could just post no meeting in December. Or you could pick, and we could do 7 o'clock on the 12th. Or I'm sorry, not the 12th.
Having fixed
That's
maybe
probably-
Yeah.
December 12th, yeah.
December 12th.
That's what's messing me up.
Yeah, I think.
Just no meeting, cancel the meeting in
December
December.
off.
They don't want to go feasibility, but I'm
Yeah.
guessing at that point it'd be real.
And I don't have a whole lot at that point.
That
usually.
might give us a little bit more time. On that.
We are gonna have to be
Yeah.
with,
Diligence.
yeah.
So we'll cancel the Park and Rec Committee meeting for December and we'll meet back up in January. However, January
Martin Luther King Day,
yeah,
16th.
16th is Martin Luther King Day. So do we want to pick a different evening?
We do it tonight.
Could do it the 9th since we were off. We'd have like 2 weeks.
Well, then we'd have to do the same night as the full committee.
Oh, yeah, you're right. These dates all mixed up. Yeah, you want to do January 9th? Does that work for everyone or no?
It doesn't work for me.
No.
I'm going to do the night.
I can try to do that.
Or as long as we have a quorum. Jen's good, Sarah's good. Jed, are you good on the January 9th if we have the meeting on the 9th rather than the 16th?
Yeah, the 9th is fine.
Perfect. I'll make that. And if you can make it Zoom, Derek, that's great. Otherwise, don't worry about it. I mean, it's. All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
Trenches.
Discussion and possible action regarding pickleball courts at the Fair Park.
All right, so I have put together kind of a brief kind of information about where the budget's at currently. As we talked at the last meeting, we all know that we have a problem up there. The problem is that the standards for the pickleball courts are about 3.5 feet off on each side. So all 4 courts are off 3.5 feet roughly, either to the north or to the south, depending on the court and where they're laid out. I finally, after 3 months of conversations or trying to have conversations with Mr. Stotts, he was meeting the nuns up at Fair Park to look at, they want to put in new pitching, an area for a pitching mound along the field. And he was up there and they told me he was there. So I went up and grabbed him and said, "Hey, I need to come meet with you. You need to meet with me." He said he didn't get my messages. So I said, "Okay, that's fine." So we met up there. He said that he think about like what happened. He's not sure how it happened. He did go, I looked at the specs and everything they were right. But they're not, he didn't put them in the right spot. So the specs are right, but where he put them weren't in the right spot. So he talked it out with himself and his son, and they kind of came up with an idea, which would be this unit here, which I'm trying to rotate this so everyone can see it, which was kind of a fabricated makeshift surface mount that's made out of aluminum, and have an aluminum bottom all across here and an eye, so everything would tie in, and then they'd get rid of the current. So first off, let me start this over, sorry. So they would come up and cut off where the current standards are on all 4 courts. It would then be up to the village to cover those and seal them however we would want. We would wait to do this until spring. We'd cut them, we'd put rock in there, and then we'd actually put asphalt in there. So on another project, we'd wait till we do another project, and then we'd cut them and put the asphalt in there, make sure that it was smoothed out. A month after that, then Midwest Seal Coat could come and seal that area and repaint that area. Okay. His thought was that he could put down the surface mount structures that he's never made before or used anywhere else before on those courts. As you can see within my memo, I don't necessarily like this idea. One, I don't like that we'd be driving in forms or driving in posts again into the blacktop, even though it's outside the play area. I don't like that we're gonna be messing with the structure in that. I'm gonna rotate this.
So it isn't just the one of the fences that put in the wrong spot.
All four, and there's actually 8, so all 8 posts are in the wrong spot. Yeah.
I thought you said last time there's one fence.
Yeah, no, it's all of them.
So the fencing is the net.
Sorry. Yeah, so it's actually these standards that you see here. Those are driven in about 4.5 feet, and they're in the wrong spot. They're 3 feet too far to the north on the north courts. I'm sorry, they're 3.5 feet too far south on the north courts, and 3.5 feet too far north. South on the north courts. North on the south courts. Thank you. Yeah, it really didn't. But
Both sides, one side of all of the courts, you're too close.
when you serve, like you literally have 5 feet rather than 8, right? So when you serve, like some people hit that. That part's like,
But it's not the same size.
It's more though, like now you strategize and you hit to the back of the court, so you know that person can't hit it.
yeah, you can strategize, and that could happen, right? I'm not saying that can happen. Anyways, my issue and the thing that I worry about is everyone running into this fence. And I did it a couple of times. I saw Jed actually do it when he was up there playing with the neighbors. And I mean, over time, the fencing back there is going to end up moving. I mean, it's already looking like it kind of has went against the blacktop. The other thing is like someone's going to get hurt, which is what we really don't want. So the options here, this is the option. So he had an option of a surface mount that we could do. I'm not saying we can't do that one. We could do that. My option was to go with, one option that I had in here was to go with Douglas, which is a reputable company. And they do these portable type standards that you can move around the courts if you need to. Now, we wouldn't necessarily ever have to move them, except if we wanted to take them in during winter. But we wouldn't necessarily have to move them, but we also wouldn't have to drive anything into the current blacktop anymore. Like there wouldn't be any more messing up with the blacktop. They're 300 pounds a piece. So yeah, not stealing it. I mean, they are on wheels. You could wheel them out. You'd have to get a trailer and everything else in that area. But that is a good, that is something that could happen. I'm not saying it wouldn't. And they are expensive. You're looking at $2,300 per standard. So $9,200 total. Whereas we got all 8 of the ones that they put in now for $5,600. So this option is more expensive.
They cost how much?
$9,200 total for all 4 of them. But it gives us an option of not having to. I don't really want to mess with the blacktop anymore. I feel like so that's the other part of this. So then once they cut those out and we fill those holes in, and we get these in, I'd order them soon because it takes it could take up to 20 weeks, I guess. But get them here, get them put together, have them ready to go at our shop. And then once those are cut, Midwest Seal Coat will come back and reseal and paint all the court all over again. And I asked him and that'll have to happen no matter what. Like we'll have to paint them again no matter what because the lines are off. No matter what standard we decide to go with.
What's that cost?
$8,000. It's $2,000 per court. So totally you're looking at $17,000 or 17.
Are we getting any?
So what I would suggest is that we go with this option if possible. I mean, so the overall budget is the interesting part is we're about $15,000 under budget. Now, that's not saying that I want to spend that money. But it does give us leeway to be able to do that. We have done a lot of things that have saved the village money up to this point. I'm also not saying that we should spend this money, but what I'm saying is we have the money to spend it if this is the only option that we go with. What I would do is do my best. I haven't paid Qualline any money to this point. It's $26,000 that we owe him. Now, his screw up is what's costing us more money. Personally, I doubt he's going to say take $17,000 off of our $26,000 bill, right? I also don't want this to go to litigation. That's the last thing that I want this to do. So I'd like to work something out with him, and at a minimum, have him pay for the standards, for the new standards that we'd be getting, or have him pay for the paint, like one or the other is my thought. Correct. And so that's going to be, I mean, even with us talking, I was saying, you know, because I showed him this Douglas one and I said, well, these things are heavy duty, right? They're used in a lot of these big tournaments that they do. I'm comfortable with this option because I think like the community's still getting a good product. I don't know if that's a good product that you're going to give me because you've never made these for anybody before. And I really don't feel like this project needs another guinea pig. So my thought process through this was to work with him to either take off the paint that we have to do or take off the standards, and we pay for the difference of what that would be, or go to him right away and say, this is what, you know, it's $17,000 at more than it's costing us. What are you going to do for us?
Like how workable.
I mean, he was saying that his option here, he'd have like $2,000 per standard in that cost to weld all that, which it might be, but he's making those in-house. So that's a big savings, I'm sure, for him. But he said it'd be about $2,000. So my thought was, well, if we're asking for $2,000 for these other ones from you back, you know, that would at least make half of me happy.
I don't like it. I mean, from a fabricator standpoint, what he's doing there, I don't like that. Like a 1-inch solid aluminum pin pounded into the ground that we're trying to prevent pounding more holes into.
Right. Yeah, I don't like the surface mount idea
And
either.
it sounds like that will take longer. Is that right? Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
He would start on the fabrication of this now, so I don't know if it would necessarily take longer. These like portable units are like, they were hard to come by during COVID here. That's all steel. So that may take some time to get, you know, that's why I would say I'd order them now, not knowing what he was going to do, just so I had him here come, you know, April. But obviously I wouldn't order them before I had a discussion with him about what his bill is going to be at the end of this, because it's, I mean, in a perfect world, he'd pay for it all.
So like this one, this picture, you can remove that.
Yeah, so-
winter if you wanted to now too, right? If you could take
Yeah,
the
we
lights off
could.
the other one.
This whole thing we could take now. Finding space to store those currently might be tough. The whole, you know, all the standards, but at least we could take them out of the elements.
With
you know.
the net is obviously replaceable on that.
Correct. Just like they would be up on another one. But the price tag is really high. I mean, these are like I said, I mean, they're almost double what we would have paid to just have someone else, you know, and that's the other option. So the other option is to have Midwest Seal Coat come in. Although, yeah, Midwest Seal Coat come in and they can bore out 8 new holes. They can dig them out, get about 4.5 feet of concrete in there and put in new standards. Their total price to do that and then paint was $14,500. I was like, well, that's not saving us much. And I hate the idea of us going on those courts with like skid steers and all that stuff again. You know,
My definitely answer is no. This is probably a ridiculous question, but you can't, but there's not tournaments here. There's not an option to like just shrink the courts a little bit and make it all work. Is that like just crazy talk? That's like,
I don't think you can really shrink it because the problem area that you're having. Well, I guess you could shrink that side, but then not this side, because it's already short.
Like, people
people would
be very
complain.
upset. I mean, I would be upset. I'm not
I'm
that
sure,
serious.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna be-
Yeah,
We paid to have.
Yeah.
regulation
Yeah.
fines.
That's the big problem here. Like
I
we
would I
spent,
would honestly go with what your thoughts are with this style of standards, see what he comes to, and we're still gonna be under budget.
when I really think there's going to be a lot, I mean, I feel like that when they were put in, everyone just started trying it and everyone's very excited. So now everyone's kind of like, okay, spring, we're all gonna be doing da 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 da, sort of big plans. So that's why I'm like, want us to have good courts.
right.
I know again for the people like who feel that they can't wait to one get nice.
Yeah.
Hook time.
Yeah,
Okay, you do you.
Yeah, just want it to be done right. Like
Right.
I'm really mad that they're not. And I mean, obviously that's on me as well. I wish I would have been there when he was actually boring the holes. I was there when he was measuring them and putting down the chalk. And then I wasn't there when he was actually, but he moved them. That's the other thing. And I don't know why. I asked him like, why did you move these? We measured them with the chalk and, I know they were 8 feet, we had 32 feet difference. So and he doesn't
You think
remember.
another job for us in the village?
Possibly. Possibly. CP Baseball's looking at putting in some bullpens next to the large diamond. But they haven't got any cost or anything. When that happens, I'll be bringing it to you, obviously, but he hasn't given them a cost estimate. I'm waiting to see what I'm going to charge him here on this stuff. But
I don't know what you think is best. I mean, this is kind of your. I thought you had the village is already forked out a lot of money. I don't have high number.
Well, I'm
Because
worried
they screwed
about-
up. I caught myself.
Right. Well, I feel like if it gets messed up again, then it's gonna be a big delay and being able to use them. And then what?
Because then you can just, you don't have to drive anything in the ground, right? Have them
we just
go
put these right up, we put them
Right, I
together.
feel like what can go wrong?
Yeah. I mean, we do have to put them all together so they come in pieces and you put them together, but that's something we can do in-house. Storing them, I don't know if we would just like put them up against the fence and maybe put a tarp or something over them.
Wasn't there gonna be some storage space in the
No,
shelter?
no. I mean, there's a walk-in entry in the middle, I guess, maybe. They're 300 pounds a piece. They are on wheels though, and you get like a little lever thing with it so you can lift them up and walk with them. I can actually show you a video if you'd like. There's stuff on YouTube for it if you want to see one. I was looking them up, trying to get reviews, like see what people thought of them.
Researchable?
Yeah, just try and see. That's a lot of money. I mean, I get that part too. I don't like that part. I don't like that they're so expensive because, and we're under budget, but at the same time, that's kind of the hope that you are, right? Like when you put a budget together, you're projecting what costs are going to be. We just happen to not need as much blacktop or not need as much rock at the beginning of this project, and the blacktop came in cheaper.
The village will be cutting the existing standards off and doing the work, and the Midwest Seal Code will come and do the finish work and repaint.
Correct. And I feel like I have a good argument with him. I met with him obviously when we were talking about this, and I said, I don't know if you remember, but he used cold mix around the pipes, and I was like, this is not okay. And I had a video of it, and I showed him how water was in there as they were taking that out. I was like, look, water's underneath. That would have just broken up. And he's like, no. So I mean, he knows that I haven't been happy with that anyway. So I feel that
The idea for that asphalt is to last 15 to 20 years, right?
or longer. I mean, you don't have any cars on it at all.
Yeah.
We have to repaint it more often than that, but you hope that the blacktop lasts 30 years. That's why you do the paint on there.
What I would want to see is it coming in for a hole in there, and leave that tire tracks in the middle of the freaking
Last thing I want to. And once you mess up with the integrity of that blacktop, there's no getting it back. You're literally saw cutting it out and trying to piecemeal the seams.
Mike, did you guys speak to village legal counsel at all about this?
I have not. But
I'm just curious knowing that, I mean, I agree with you. I'd like to keep this out of a lawsuit, but I can see that it potentially goes that way. I don't know if it's worth a conversation with them.
yeah. I could have that conversation with Paul.
I think it's worth having just because, I mean, I feel like they should be responsible for all these costs.
Right.
You know, obviously everybody wants to be fair, but, we shouldn't have to deal with this. And so, I mean, if he's not willing to work with us and do the right thing, then obviously that's what it's going to come to. And I'd at least prefer that the village attorney is aware of this and gives his opinion, just so that he has a heads up in case it goes that route.
Yes. I will,
And then as a second thing, I would make a motion that we go with the Douglas standards.
That was your official motion, correct, Jen?
Yes, the motion is that we go with the Douglas standards as outlined in the memo.
and then, are you good with also then having Midwest Seal Coat come and repaint?
Yes. Because we have to. There's no other way around it. It has to be redone.
Yeah, he said that there's, yeah. Because I was like, well, maybe could you just come in and do the lines? And he's like, nope. I'm like, why is that? He's like, they will never
No.
line.
It comes down to the same thing, which is like, we pay good money
Right.
for new pickleball courts, and we're not going to start off with hodgepodge things because a contractor made a mistake.
Right.
They need to, right? This is the same thing that happened in my neighborhood with the concrete sidewalks and the driveways and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They screwed to come in and fix it, and they need to make it right. We should get a brand new pickleball court that looks brand new and is brand new.
Yep. Perfect.
I agree with everything Jen said, and I second the motion.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. Discussion and possible action regarding the dog park in the village prospect.
All right. So I put together a little memo here, but Ben had asked us to be on our agenda for this evening. I did put together the memo, just kind of discussing what I know that you had talked about, and the fact that just so everyone knows, back in I believe it's 2015, the village Parks and Recreation Committee had numerous meetings to kind of talk about the addition of a dog park within the village. This is the document that we put together for that meeting, kind of outlining sorry, I can't see it here. Can you? Outlining the different spaces, different parks and or open space that the village currently owned that could serve for the village as a dog park. And what they came out of within that was the Raspberry Park east side, so where the current kind of baseball field is located, that was a really good option at the time. At that time, the Shell family actually was purchasing that lot. I didn't even know there was a lot there for sale, to be honest with you. I thought it was all village, but that lot was being sold to them. And they kind of wrestled up the entire neighborhood to come and to the park and rec meeting and say, we do not want this in our backyard. And that's kind of what we got out of that meeting, was that, yes, everyone in this community believed that we needed a dog park, but they didn't believe in the village putting it in a space that was already public or village land. It should be put in land that was to be coming into the village, or something that the village were to purchase for this property. At that time, then the village board did approve that a dog park be added to the Sundance neighborhood, which I can put in here. Which would be the Ladopolis. The addition of the Ladopolis development, which is this entire property here, would be with the,
What road is that?
so this is Brewery Road.
Oh,
This
okay.
goes up
So it's all the way up the hill.
all the way up the hill.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's steep hill.
Yep.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was a discussion point within that, that we're going all the way to the top of the hill. You know, how are people going to access it? So they talked about a path that then would be put along the side, and meeting ADA would be an issue, you know, as you know how steep that is. But that was the discussion. It was put in the Sundance development, pre-development agreement. They agreed to it. So the dog park itself was, I'm going to say, this space right in here, and then it goes all the way into the Conservancy as well. So it's a very large swath of land. However, since then, that development hasn't moved. That development has been going since I have been here. It started in 2007, and it's still been trying to get approved since then.
There's problems with Burger, there was always not been wide enough.
No, the problem is water. So different village boards decide different things. There's the whole thought when this was coming in to agree to be within the village was that it would be on private wells for the water, and they would hook into village sewer. Okay. Since then, you have different people on the board that don't want to agree to allowing people on private wells. They feel like if you're going to be annexed into the village, you should be on public water and public sewer. The problem with this is that this zone for water is, you know, 3 or 4 times what our current water we couldn't get to it. It's impossible. Even with lift stations, there's just no way to get up there. So the upfront cost for the developer is way more than what they can fathom in regards to getting their money recouped within a small development like this. And there's people within the village board that don't necessarily want the private wells. So that's the stick point to make this go forward. And so that's what's kind of holding up a dog park within the village limits of the village of Cross Springs village limits. So I'll let you go.
So, I am mad, and I have to put this on Facebook, but I did belong to the community board. And I thought it was a really good way to hear what the community's, thoughts are, and to just kind of stay up on some of the activities. And it was, so I generally peruse some of the mom and dad's boards, what's happening across Plains, kind of, that's what the name of it. But anyways, this past week, I had noticed, and kind of coincidentally, I think Sarah, you were also noticing this almost simultaneously. Somebody had suggested, or put out there, why don't we have a dog park in the village? Where do you like your dogs run? I use Bear Park. Everybody uses Bear Park. We all let our dogs run loose at Bear Park. Or even Xander. Not all of us. But yeah, I mean, that was the recommendation. That was, just right out there. And so there was one person, and I do think her name is Jennifer Liska, who is, she wants to see what it would take. She's a newer resident. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, she said she's only been here for a couple of years, and that she was interested in, exploring why we don't have one, and making, some type of a proposal for the village council. I think that's what she said, the village board. And so she started kind of rallying people and created this Facebook page called Dogs of Cross Plains, which I joined because I was curious. So you've got post picture of your pooch, and I'm excited for a dog park, and there's all these pictures, and you've got she's like, in the first 2 hours, we've got 50 people, 27 people who joined this private Facebook group. And yeah, people are just like, I want a dog park. I want a dog park. And Susie, my dog, is excited for a dog park. And so they, you could see some of the conversations about, maybe I'll contact Amy, see what they did to get a dog park. they're starting to, really wanting to invest time into putting together a proposal. I did see Trustee Kelcher tag Catalina on one of the posts, so to kind of put it, I think, on her radar, knowing she maybe is a village employee, I don't know. But Becky Ward, I also saw chimed in, because as people are trying to figure out, what do I do? And Becky did go on there and say, I think location is one of the things you're going to have to identify in order to bring this to the village board. And they said, well, I don't even know I'm not even familiar with what our recommendations could be for this location. And she then suggested that they come to the Parks and Rec Committee meeting every, third Monday of every month to talk about this ask as a starting point. But it seems to me that they're probably just gathering information at this point to then come to us. So that's why I shot Mike a note and said maybe we should put this on the agenda.
I have just encouraged them to work in collaboration.
Yeah, oh yes, you did. And I think, wasn't it in the last 6 months or so, we did talk about dog park gyms, didn't we talk about?
Well, that's why I commented about that, but we have talked about it recently. It did come up that we kind of brainstormed ideas, but I think it always comes down. And you've given us the update about well, we talked about it when this neighborhood was, but that's not. But we did talk at one meeting about it.
We have talked about it. I know, obviously, what it comes up is land, and land is the really expensive part, right? Yeah, when Bill was still here, we talked about it out on the Brunner farm, so off of P. Thought it'd be a good spot, like right off of within here, right? What's that?
Right, because Trustee Brother reached out to me over the summer and said we should work with Parks and Rec and about a dog park.
Yeah, and so
I feel like there is
when we heard that this land was going to be for sale, at one point it was going to be for sale. We were like, oh, well, this could be a good location, for a dog park. It's within our parks and open space plan. We have a map, right, that says like current village owned space and then potentially other parks to be added. This location right here is one of those. It's within a wetland though. It's close to having hydro soils, and then obviously you have the area down here that is too. I think this now has been sold, if I remember right. Yes, or no, that's that has not been sold. Sorry. I should see if this one has. This one has been sold, so it's been sold out. So when they looked at doing the solar farm, this was like one of the locations that they looked at, but it has been purchased now since that date by someone else. So I think for them, ideally you'd have them, the map that you have there is one option. That's what the trails. There's other ones in there too with other potential park uses. But I'd be fine if you want to have her connect with me. We can talk about different properties that this has been already discussed for. I think the biggest thing that I got out of the committee meetings in the past were that not to try and offer it on current village, property or any park property now, just because it's not within their deed. So even if we were to look at, one of the other developments, I'd say, I think we're gonna get the same reaction from people if they don't want it in their backyard. That's why with the Sundance one, it was like, hey, you're going to sell them a lot. This lot's going to, or their plat is going to say dog park. They're going to see that it says dog park, and that's what the village board wanted people to see. So we didn't have this type of reaction, after the fact. But I'd be happy to sit down with whoever and talk about, where I think this should go. I think it'd be a lot of fundraising if we have to purchase land for this purpose. And I don't know of any other developments that are currently, looking to come in, other than that. So.
Yeah,
When you
land on outside. At the end of Washington, they rented to a farm.
To Ziegler's. So that is one space that we didn't talk about. There has been discussions about the village working on flood mitigation strategies out on this parcel. But this is what Cody's talking about. So when the Creekside Crossing development went in or was coming in, they were to give parkland for, whenever you have a development, there's parkland dedication required. They didn't have land to provide or give up because they needed to maximize their profits and the amount of lots that they could sell. So what they did is work to swap where the village actually acquired this land over here. That's in this little triangle here. But it was based on the village actually doing flood mitigation. Because what we found is when water from Brewery Creek goes over Highway P, the village floods. If water stays under Highway P, it doesn't flood. So as soon as that water gets over the road on Highway P, the rest of the village floods out. So their whole goal was, and they worked with Jewel to try and work on a way to make this area here like a pond, so they make it deeper so that this could back up and hold the water. The problem with that is that it acquired the village to purchase more land going to the north. So up along here, because they found that the fastest moving water was further out of the village limits. And so that if we did this, where we just dredged this and made it plants and, made it more or less, our flood mitigation area, the only area that we would use within that, it wouldn't solve the problem for us. So when they ran after we got the land, once they ran all the studies on it, it came back with not helping the village out. Now, if we purchased more land upstream, we could mitigate that from ever happening. The problem is you gotta purchase quite a bit of land upstream from that. So, but this is a current property that does not have a designated use now, as it was to be designated for only.
And that's the yellow box, that's the Creekside Crossing development?
This one is, yeah.
Yeah. And it's across from
It's
there.
across
on
the
other
street.
side, like,
Yep.
not quite across from Chancy Valley.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So this would be, so you have St. Francis, right? Right here. This is our football field. So it's right down from here.
King's Court, whatever it is.
Yeah, King Arthur's Court is in here. It's kind of an island right now, but yeah, the village they do own it. Now, these Zander family owned that property beforehand. They offered that up early within this whole plan because they knew what they needed over here. So I don't know how they would feel about a dog park going in there, but it's also something that we could try, something that we could talk
Also
about.
across, like not in the backyard, like,
Right.
like the others are clearly in somebody's backyard at this point.
Right. The only thing I would say about this is that when you see dark on a map like this, it's wet, like very wet, which could be an issue. Now this side is a little bit better, and maybe people wouldn't care so much with dogs, but this is a creek, so we would need a bridge if you plan to use both sides of this property. Which drives, yeah, and really doesn't allow you for much room for like a parking lot. That would be maybe an issue, and obviously there's no sidewalk that was continued there, or a path at all. There's a path that goes all along here, but there's nothing that crosses.
I feel like there's just enough people will drive their dog to the dog park that's just on the edge of the hill. And the amount of people that I see come to Hickory Hill that live in town and drive their dog to the Conservancy to take them up the hill. And you're far enough away from any backyards, even if you had the bottom half of that from the creek over, it'd be a big enough area where dogs can run. Obviously you have to fence it somehow.
My wife's also saying there's not much.
Yeah.
This part of
Yeah,
the
it's right in the park.
Yeah, being that close to the creek.
It's only 13 acres, and that's like what happens.
So when I go out to Indian Lake Dog Park, which is not far from there, they're like, I mean, that parking lot, what's it hold about 8 cars maybe?
Yeah, one of those nice days. People just kind of.
Yeah, we just all kind of cram in there for sure.
And that dog park, it doesn't have fencing, which is.
No, we gotta cross the street.
Terrifying.
It is, I know.
About
Yeah.
I gotta find out my key.
And I know a lot of people
6
don't live
acres,
there
it's pretty
because
good
their dogs
size.
get all wet.
But then you're gonna be a higher dog park, which has a ramp going into the water. I mean, that's, I don't know,
People do
Middleton
weird
has
things
a
with their
dog park
dogs.
now, right on Airport Road, and it's like a strip of land.
Yeah.
I guess how wide is it?
Yeah,
Is it just
how
wet
wide is it?
every heavy rains?
It's farming.
I mean, he does try and, I mean, he's been tilling it this year, but there's been years where they haven't been able to do that. Dane kind of talked to me about that before. So this is Dane Ziegler right here, who's our park maintenance worker. This is his family farm. This is where he lives too.
So that's.
He got a lot in his backyard.
I'm guessing not.
When I talked about by those apartments, I meant that upper space.
By apartments?
Yeah, is it west?
Oh, Westview.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying Westview Conservancy?
Yeah. 'Cause I
So
went
this
there.
space here? Oh, I'm sorry, no.
It's
one
right
here.
there.
Yeah.
Cause I went there, I don't think anybody goes there.
Great.
No, is that,
That's
I
up
don't think a lot of people know about it.
that's behind the apartments off of 14?
You just walk up there,
There
and
is like a third,
it's
yeah.
a cool view, but it's not like,
It's not a lot of running.
there's not really a lot of space.
Not a lot of flat. We've like cleared a lot of it. There's a lot of
Yeah.
buckthorn cedar up there. But there's not a lot of flat areas, you know?
That would be open for that.
Yeah. I mean, just, you wouldn't want to probably throw a ball or something. You might lose it off the edges.
Just parking for that, what would you do?
Yeah, there's zero parking here. There's parking
We don't
here.
park along the road.
You park along the
That is a
road.
big deal.
It is.
Parking that guy's driveway.
But yeah, it's not a nuisance.
Well, that's what I thought was that, it's just, it's
This is
not used.
Jamie's
So
eye check.
then it would,
He's the developer of the.
Oh,
yeah, a huge thing.
My whole goal was to get this conservancy connected to Glacier Ridge. That's why we did that. I was trying, like PI owns this over here. Jamie, obviously, Zychek owns this. And so the goal was to, I actually at one point thought I had him. He was going to agree to us to go along his property here. But then he said it was too close to his house. So then I was like, well, could we go this way? But then I need approval from PI too. So there's a lot of hunters in there, yeah. So we've kind of crashed that too.
I don't know, I guess, yeah, they have their, I don't know, and then somebody shoots a gun all the time.
Yeah, PI allows all of them to go hunt on
And I think
property.
they must just go out there and shoot them. I don't know.
probably when they used to.
Sugar syrup.
Employed by us.
But Jen, if you'd like to be a part of that, I'd be happy with like you and I, and if she wants to meet, we can talk about it and kind of next steps. That would be fine.
And is it private, the land that's buys the waterworks and state and lumber between that and the rip lot, is that private?
Rips own it.
They own that.
So that's funny that you brought that up because I actually approached them when we were looking for a dog park before and said, hey, would you be willing? This is when Matt was still here. So that's how long this has been going on. Because I remember the different administrators that I had to speak with about this. But the Rips were like, no, our plan, we're going to develop that or use it. And I was like, well, it's in the wetlands, so you can't develop it. But they didn't want a dog park next to their house either. And they own this and this.
Is that something we can all agree on?
Yes.
No,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it always comes down to. Everyone thinks it's a great.
I don't think it's
I'd like to see the village purchase this
That'd be awesome.
and then make that the dog park.
That'd be such a cool park.
They kind of filled in areas though, so you don't. Yeah,
If we can find a space.
but
that's
yeah, I agree.
Interesting, dog park that brings people in. I mean, I drive to the Verona dog park because it's so moving.
Yeah, it's cool. So, like this one, you'd be going past homes again, you know, like, but this would be big enough for parking.
How is there a private dog park in Prospect?
Yeah.
Sell it to us?
It's off.
That's way out. That's
I
on.
don't know.
It's open.
Yeah, it's Pine Bluff. Yeah.
Oh.
It's actually right by the tree, that place, right? Like right behind.
I think it's somewhere down in Military Roads where I
Oh,
understood.
because they contacted me a number of times and asked if I could help them. And I was like, sure, but what are you looking to do? And then they told me where they were, and I was like, oh, you're outside the village. And then it's like, oh,
So you know, up here.
yeah. But yeah, if you want to, the three of us or whoever, if they want to have more people meet, I think it'd be good to do that. And then, Yeah.
Because I, again, don't do Facebook, so if I'm like, DM me, I don't even know what that means, to be honest. I'm like, I don't know what DM means, so I'm not gonna get through Facebook.
I'm with you on that. So this is owned by the developers of this. This is Jamie Zychek. This is village owned. This is village owned. This is village owned. So these three small parcels will be ours. I actually plan to meet with Ron Nutowski to kind of see if we can expand the mountain biking throughout this area. So
Like rapid.
yeah, you'd end up having to come down, but it would be close enough. I think it'd be kind of to be able to do, but it's more on if they're able to expand. He's
Should that
put some
be
time into
developed at all?
this.
Yeah.
It's currently zoned, zone map. Yeah, it's light industrial is what they zoned it, I believe. So it could be developed. And the whole plan, their plan when they did this at the beginning was for this to be all storage units inside here, and there'd be a private gate, that people with access could go. But I agree with Derek. If the price tag it was like $700,000 or something for that property. It's like, yeah. So I couldn't get the village to move on that either. I tried to get Dane County to actually come out and do a joint agreement with us in the village to make it a BMX park because they were looking for a regional place for BMX, and I was like, but I thought it was part of this too, and then realized like that's owned by Wingra. So this is still an active quarry, whereas this area is done. It's been sold out and done, so it's kind of too small. But yeah.
All this last thing last.
Fine.
Well, we built this with mine.
Did you feel it a lot? Yeah.
I keep seeing the same thing with developers and cross plans telling people stuff and not being accurate.
I think that's,
Developers.
yeah.
Jen, you said her name was,
Jennifer, this
oh, that's
Yeah.
easy. Liz?
Liska.
Okay. I'll reach out. Try and get something. Can I roll and see where they're at?
I didn't really see the flow was going that far back.
That's phase 2, and it's already in.
Yeah, it's a lot of sidewalk. It's a ton of sidewalk.
Yeah, we have like a village portion of it right through the middle here as well. So there's a connection and we'll have to take care of, I'm guessing. Haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, she's got a board, she might bring in this. Anyway, so,
Oh, that's fine.
like, yeah, like, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good. The more
Yeah.
voices, the more, great.
Better to come from that angle than trying to get them to come from my angle. So.
Yeah. Totally.
All right, so we will bring this back at a later date. That works for everybody?
Yes.
All right.
There is a discussion and possible action regarding a policy for moving items from committee to the village board.
Yeah, so I also brought this tonight, possible discussion or whatever we want to do with it, but, when we were talking about the playground getting a sign, and, I made a wrong assumption that years ago, we had worked and Mike, you invested a lot of time in creating a sign policy when, the Hillenbrand Foundation had some extra money and they wanted to offer to pay for a sign for the conservancy. And as a committee, we wanted to have something that was more holistic that we could adopt, not as a one-off, but more of a sign policy that we would ultimately tie in as signs were being replaced throughout the village or new amenities were being created, that we would start to kind of adopt the same type and styling of a sign. And it would just be kind of a set policy and different sizes based on communities, and that in Mike, we did some, maybe not RFPs, but you got some bids to put together, and it was really comprehensive, I thought. And it was, I thought, presented to the village board to find out that it either didn't pass, or it just kind of got passed along on the agenda, and maybe ultimately wasn't reviewed. I don't know if I'm summarizing that correctly, Mike, but I want to say it was like 4 or 5 years ago that we did this. Because, anyway, so I thought, well, especially with pool feasibility or dog park or some of these other things that we're talking, investing, volunteering our time, investing resources, your time into some of these initiatives or getting some of these to the board, that we should probably do a better job of kind of tracking where we go. And that's why I brought this to the committee to see what we can do to help.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, the biggest thing is just being able to like pass on, that opinion, or, your motions, like saying like, well, we passed that in Parks and Rec. I always, as soon as it's been approved by you, I always give it to the administrator. It's on the administrator then to approve it to be put on the plan commission and or village board agenda, which is the administrator and the village president's decision to do so. Whether they don't believe it's ready yet or whatever, it can be pushed back to committees. But I don't understand what happened here, because the plan commission approved it. Village board approved the sign manual, but they did not approve the number of signs. I guess that's what a few of the members are caught up on, and that they didn't approve. They needed to approve this logo policy that's on the agenda for Monday, next Monday, which no one else knew about. So I think it's more of just the communication within staffing, which hopefully that gets better. I think these things get to the point for us, like where like you're sick of fighting it and you just kind of quit with it, right? So it's probably me doing more work for you or to you to say, hey, can you guys come to this meeting and help me kind of, get this moving? This one, the sign one, really bothered me because we did have someone that was willing to donate money and now they're not. It's like, that makes it kind of hard. So, and I get it, like things get caught up from time to time with different things, but at that point it should be communicated to staff, then to bring it back to the committee to have more discussions on it, right? Isn't that, it's kind of what we thought, but I've never heard anything about it. So I agree. I don't know if there's really a policy side of things. I think it would be more like the village board, if they know about it, which they usually don't too. It just makes it kind of hard to make sure that people are getting the information needed sometimes. But I don't think there's really a policy that the committee can come up with, other than, I think the policy we have is once it's approved and it needs village board approval, it goes on to village board meeting. But I agree with you. This was super frustrating.
Yeah, or even, the pool feasibility, you have a lot of volunteers coming into the room. You have somebody from prior years saying, I thought we worked on that.
Yeah.
There's no record of it anywhere. And maybe they thought they worked on something that really wasn't what they thought it was at the time.
Yeah.
So how do you archive and kind of keep that information, still relevant? Otherwise it just gets lost and it's just,
yeah.
So I don't know what the solution is. So, but I just thought I'd bring it for us to discuss.
Hey guys, as a possible workaround, it's my understanding that if 2 trustees ask for something to be put on the village board agenda, that it can be forced on. So if we're sending stuff and it's not getting there, then Cody could potentially find another trustee that's willing to support it getting on the agenda, and then it can get placed on.
That is correct. Okay. So that's a village. That's actually not a village. That's a state law requirement for agendas.
So I think what happens a lot of times is it goes to the administrator and then that gets passed on to Jay, and whether they just feel like it doesn't meet what they want to work on, or they don't think it's important, or whatever the reasoning is, it just doesn't happen. And so I think that's one of those things where since there's probably not a policy that can work, what we can do as a committee is, we can ask Cody if he can find somebody else that's willing to sponsor to get it on the agenda. And if it doesn't happen, then we can follow up at a meeting and say, hey, were you able to find someone? Or us as a committee can go to someone else on the village board and say, hey, we think this is important. We spent a bunch of time on this. Like, if you guys aren't going to put it on the agenda, then, maybe we don't need to have this committee, or maybe you should find somebody else to do it and stop wasting our time.
I agree with that.
I'm 100% with that.
Yeah, I think everyone agrees with you, Jed. Good call. And I think that's the route we should go from here on out. I mean, just planning on knowing. I mean, most of the time that, or you see, that we have documents. That was one that they kept off for a very long time. And then they put it on. And then they didn't approve it.
I've seen this with our committee, but I don't remember ever seeing it at
Village board.
board.
It got approved at village board as a manual. However, it didn't give me the go ahead to use it until a logo policy was decided, I guess.
Okay.
Which was just lack of communication or even the administrator, that was, I guess Bill was to come up with a logo policy and how we can actually use the logo as staff or as a committee, and it wasn't done. So that's what they were waiting on. I didn't know that.
And that's the
So,
part.
yeah.
The omission.
Yeah, it was agreed.
Okay, so then, I mean, I understand the method. How do we keep track of these things? And how do we know if they don't go anywhere other than just us asking?
I think asking,
Just as we approve these minutes and realize there's a takeaway or an action,
yeah,
just doing a better job of doing
checking in on it.
Yeah.
I think that's a
to
good
see
idea.
where it's at.
Yeah. Good idea.
Mhm.
And hopefully I'm not giving you an answer of, I don't know. Or Cody gives you an answer of, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm fine. I was just.
Yeah. No,
wanting
it's
to
good.
talk about it and it's like,
Good question. All right.
All right, make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
you make a motion?
Yep.
Oh, I'll second the motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Thanks,
opposed?
Jed.
Thanks, guys. Sorry I can't be there. Cody, as a side note, now that the meeting's over, my next door neighbor is a village trustee. So if you need a second person, I'm happy to see if I can
Who's your neighbor?